The red thing. Hey, Dr. Robertson.
Hey, Dr. Mosley, how are you?
Doing pretty good. Not so well after the whole worm thing, so I'm hoping today goes better.
What, you weren't really excited about talking about anisakiasis?
No, in fact, I avoided fish for now 15 years running because of that. So,
You're missing out on the good stuff, man.
uh-huh. That's what they tell me.
Okay,
So,
well, today you don't have to worry about that. Today we're going to shift gears. We're going to talk about something completely different. We're not going to talk about parasites, bacteria, or viruses. Today we're going to talk about fungi.
woo, fun guy.
Yeah. So fungi commonly are molds and yeasts. So again, these are microscopic organisms, but they're not plants, they're not animals, they're not parasites, they're not viruses. They're kind of their own thing. And the common ones that we run into, especially dealing in food situations, are molds and yeasts. And for the most part, these do not cause foodborne illness. For the most part, there are some, and we'll talk about them. But for the most part, if you get mold or yeast in your food, it's spoilage. So it's making the food unpalatable, but it's not making it harmful.
Yeah.
So much. So molds, and here we've got the picture of the block of cheese with some mold on it. And, nobody wants to eat that.
Well, unless, of course, you're eating like blue cheese, I guess.
Yeah. Right. I love my blue cheese.
I was just saying, like, that's the thing that most people don't get is like some of this stuff is what ended up developing into some of the foods that we eat. Like, right. Oh, wait, that's actually good.
If you eat brie cheese, the white soft stuff on the outside, that's the mold. That's the mold part. It's delicious, but it's mold.
But we're trying to point out that the bad stuff here. So
yeah. So molds typically, like I said, cause spoilage. Molds, all of your fungi are one thing that are different than the bacteria is they're a lot harder to get rid of and kill and control. Whereas like acidity kills bacteria. Generally not mold. Mold can grow pretty good in acidic environments. Refrigerator temperatures, hey, that's fine. Molds grow pretty good there too. I mean, if you've ever been a bachelor and you open your refrigerator and you find that moldy thing in the back, I can attest to the fact that molds grow in a refrigerator.
Well, and I mean, down south, obviously we deal with mold on a regular basis if you don't have proper ventilation in your bathrooms, things like that, moisture. I mean, it's a constant battle.
So molds will grow in places we don't normally see it. Like it'll grow on salty meats like ham and bacon. It'll grow on jellies and jams. Molds are a little harder to get rid of, a little harder to prevent. Some of them do produce toxins that are dangerous, and they actually produce some really dangerous toxins. And these are called aflatoxins. Aflatoxins are the toxins that come from molds. Now, Matt, what do you do if you have a block of cheese that has some mold in it? On it.
You know what I do? And,
what do you do?
I just cut it off.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Is it safe with a hard cheese to cut it off if you cut clear 1 inch? So if you have a big block of cheese, if you can cut clear 1 inch, you can remove the mold and still serve that cheese. Now, you cannot do that with a soft cheese like mozzarella or brie or something that has a mold on it. That you have to throw away. But a hard cheese like cheddar or Parmesan or something like that, you can actually trim the moldy part off if you trim clear by 1 inch and serve that cheese.
Yeah.
Now, yeasts also commonly cause spoilage. So when you open that jar in your refrigerator, it's got kind of that sweet smell to it. That's yeast. And the yeast is actually probably eating the sugar in there and converting it into carbon dioxide and alcohol, which is where we get beer and wine and spirits and cider and all. That's
so I'm not really hearing a problem here yet.
Well, I don't want it on my jelly. I don't want the fruit jelly.
I don't know. Yeah. Maybe it's just kind of nice to, a little peanut butter jelly and a buzz. I don't know.
So yeast typically cause food spoilage, not more so than danger. or more so than like a foodborne illness. You usually will smell the sort of sweet alcohol smell. You'll see like a pink or a white slime. It may bubble, and that's the production of carbon dioxide that's coming up. And again, it grows well in acidic food and food that doesn't have a lot of moisture. So again, these fungi are a little harder to deal with. So another thing we're going to talk about in addition to the fungi, and I'll come back to those with some specifics in a minute, is we're also going to talk about biological toxins.
So, I always knew plants were bad for you.
Yeah. So toxins are poisons produced by plants, and these are things that can make you sick, that we have to be aware of. And so seafood often has toxins in it. Some plants have toxins in it. Mushrooms have toxins in it. And these can cause some pretty serious foodborne illnesses. So we'll talk about those. The first that I want to talk about are going to be some seafood illnesses. And I guarantee you, as a student, you will get at least one of these questions on the ServSafe exam. They like these questions, and I'll try and kind of steer it so that you get what's useful. Hey, Matt, I have a question.
Sure.
Are you seeing my notes page or the slides page?
Slides.
Okay. Are our images on there also?
Yeah, I see a fish.
No, the images of me and you.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm seeing something different on my end. That's why I'm asking.
Oh, okay.
Sorry to interrupt. Just want to make sure the students are getting the full,
the full experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, the two common seafood illnesses you're going to hear about are scombroid poisoning and ciguatera poisoning.
Scombroid always sounds like a fun time. Really not. Really not.
So scombroid poisoning is actually caused by the presence of bacteria and stuff in the fish, and it causes a histamine reaction. Now, the toxin is histamine. So histamine is what causes an allergic reaction. When your nose starts running, your mouth gets itchy, that's your body reacting to histamine. If you have hay fever, what kind of medicine do you take to stop your eyes from watering and your nose from running?
An antihistamine.
An antihistamine.
Shocking. How quickly.
So this is histamine poisoning coming from the fish. And so it's, burning in the mouth, burning in the throat, sweating, headache, kind of this like severe allergy reactions. It can also cause diarrhea and vomiting. And the fish that it is associated with are tuna and bonito, mackerel, and mahi-mahi. Okay? So if you
I'm just hearing that I should avoid all fish.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So these oily fish here, these are the ones that commonly have scombroid poisoning, and that's what it's associated with. And again, this is certain fish caught in certain places, certain times of year are likely to have it. And so if that's the condition, what do you think is the best preventative measure?
For me, honestly, just not eating it. Yeah. But obviously you don't want to go outside of the danger zone. Your time and temperatures and stuff like that.
Yeah, and the main thing we do is you buy from a reputable supplier, because they're gonna know when the fish caught in certain places are safe to eat and when they're likely to have scombroid poisoning. So buy from reputable suppliers and avoid time temperature abuse, because the scombroid poisoning comes from bacteria that are present in the fish, and so if those bacteria have even more chance to grow, they're time and temperature abused, that can become worse.
And honestly, I mean, that's a lot of it. It's just buying from somebody reputable and avoiding, time and temperature abuse.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean,
so the other kind of fish poisoning that you're likely to get a question on is ciguatera. The toxin is ciguatoxin. And this is kind of interesting. I love the first symptom is the reversal of hot and cold. So you will feel things that are hot as cold and things that are cold as hot.
That wouldn't be so bad in the summertime down here.
Yeah, I could deal with a little of that right now.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. It's a little toasty.
Yeah, so tingling in the fingertips, lips, or toes, joint and muscle pain, nausea, and vomiting. Now,
I've really not seen much downside.
Yeah.
So.
Here's the giveaway that you will see on the ServSafe exam.
Mm.
You will see the phrase predatory tropical reef fish.
Mm.
If you see predatory tropical reef fish,
just remember a SIG.
The answer is going to be Ciguatera.
Mm.
So what are predatory tropical reef fish? Things like barracuda, snapper, grouper, different types of jacks. And the reason these are dangerous is because this is a toxin, again, that's present, say, in bacteria. The little fish eat the bacteria, the middle-sized fish eat the little fish, and the big fish eat the middle-sized fish, and then these predatory top predator fish eat the big fish. And so all those toxins become concentrated in their body, and they're likely to have a higher level of these toxins present. So if you see the phrase predatory tropical reef fish, the answer is going to be Ciguatera.
It's a pretty good clue that I would have write down if I were you.
Yeah, I would.
Your study book right now. Anyways, that's just me. I don't know.
Then, again, how do you prevent it? Buy from reputable suppliers. I'm going to beat this into your head. Buy from reputable suppliers.
Us.
Now, the next couple slides, we're going to talk about shellfish poisoning. And the ServSafe text has kind of gone away from the specific types of shellfish poisoning. It's just kind of good to know that there are different types of shellfish poisonings out there. Like I don't think they ask questions very much anymore as, is this amnesic shellfish poisoning? Is this neurotoxic? Is it paralytic? It's just, they're bad. Avoid them.
Yeah. And really, I mean, a lot of stuff, there's a lot of crossover anyways in symptoms and everything else too. But
yeah, you'll see the symptoms are all very similar.
Yeah.
So the first one, paralytic shellfish poisoning. These are found in shellfish like clams and oysters, mussels and scallops. They come from colder waters such as the Pacific Northwest and New England. And the symptoms are numbness, tingling in the face, arms and mouth, dizziness, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. In extreme cases, paralysis, like you lose the ability to move. The way we prevent it, you want to guess, Matt? There's a common theme here.
I say that the best way to prevent it is to buy it from a guy who's selling it out of his trunk.
That's what you want to do. You want to look for that good deal. Find the guy who's selling the unrefrigerated shellfish.
No ice, none of that.
Out of the trunk of his car. That's the guy who's going to have the good stuff.
It seems legit. Legit. Yeah.
Buy from reputable suppliers.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Then we have neurotoxic shellfish poisoning. And this comes from warmer weather places. So like the Gulf of Mexico and in the Caribbean. It's associated with clams, mussels, and oysters. And again, the symptoms are pretty similar to the other one. We have tingling and the numbness of the lips, tongue, and throat, dizziness, reversal of hot and cold, vomiting and diarrhea.
Yeah, and that's why he mentioned on the other one that it was the predatory, right? Predatory, Ciguatera.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So.
Again, how do we prevent it? Buy from reputable suppliers.
I mean, it seems almost like you have a cheat code here.
Yeah. Yeah. If this is a question you should get right.
How do you prevent food poisoning? For the most part,
buy from a reputable supplier. Okay, amnesic shellfish poisoning. This comes from the Pacific Northwest and again the eastern coast of Canada. Clams, mussels, oysters, and scallops. The initial symptoms: vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pain. Then later, this actually starts having some mental effects. So confusion, memory loss, disorientation, seizure, in severe cases, coma. And they don't list it here, but amnesia, that's where the name comes from. You lose your memory. Again, how do we prevent? I know this one's a surprise because it's buy from reputable suppliers.
You know, for sure, one of these times I thought it was going to be something else.
Yeah.
Always on the edge.
So, some mushroom toxins.
Ah.
Now, one of my favorite sayings, and I say this in a lot of classes, is that all mushrooms are edible.
Yeah.
Some are only edible one time. So, yeah, you eat a mushroom, it'll kill you. You know, there are lots of mushrooms out there that will kill you.
Mm-hmm.
There are lots of mushrooms that will severely mess you up in all sorts of ways.
Yeah. I mean, you might be able to see Jimi Hendrix in your mind. It's going to be amazing.
So, you know, eating wild mushrooms is dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Again, so don't, buy from reputable suppliers, because what looks like a morel, which is a delicious, wonderful mushroom, looks a heck of a lot like a false morel, which is a deadly mushroom. So, I mean, these are dangerous. We have to be careful. We want to buy from reputable suppliers. And I'll give you for instance of what I'm talking about, how dangerous these can be, and how difficult it can be to exactly figure out what's causing some of the problems. So there is a mushroom called an inky cap mushroom, and they're delicious. They're wonderful, delicious mushrooms, and you can eat them all day long, and they're harmless.
Yeah.
Except if you consume them with alcohol.
No kidding.
Yeah, then they can stop your heart.
You know, and as somebody who has had their heart stopped, I don't highly recommend it. So.
Yeah. So the inky cap mushroom, if you've ever known anyone who is having like treatment for severe alcoholism, they'll give them a drug called antabuse. What antabuse does is, in order to prevent alcoholics from drinking, is if you consume alcohol, it makes you deathly ill. Well, that's derived from the inky cap mushroom. And if you eat the raw mushroom, if you do it, it's actually enough to kill you.
Wow.
So again,
it's a bold strategy, Cotton.
Yeah, buy from reputable suppliers. Don't pick wild mushrooms and serve them in your restaurant. Just don't do it.
No, unless you're an actual expert on them and know what you're. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not.
No, and we come from a place where they used to go morel mushroom hunting all the time, and all right.
So
plant toxins.
So plants can produce toxins as well, and we just want to be careful with what we serve. Usually, this comes from buying things from the wrong source. So again, buying from reputable suppliers. I'll give you some examples. So cows can, they're grazing animals. They're eating grass and stuff. Well, they can eat something called gypsum weed, which is poisonous, and it makes the milk poisonous. The cow doesn't really show any symptoms, but if you drink the milk, it's poisonous. You have to be aware. So again, buy from a reputable supplier. Honey, you have to be really careful, because for the most part, honey is safe. We think of honey as being safe, but actually honey is the first biological weapon that's ever been recorded in human history. The ancient Assyrians were at a battle, and they found some honeycombs or beehives where the bees had been eating rhododendrons, and the rhododendron honey is actually psychoactive. And so what they did was they launched the beehives into the city. The people ate the honey, and then they got high, and then they raided the city.
Well, I mean, if somebody throws beehive over by me, the first thing I'm going to be like, sweet free honey.
A beehive full of LSD honey or something. You're just going to, all right.
Yeah. What condition my condition is in. Sorry.
So again, you want to be careful there. And then we also have to be careful sometimes with how we handle plants. So for instance, rhubarb, which is used to make rhubarb pie. Yeah. Rhubarb is high in oxalic acid, which is a poison in high levels of concentration. Well, in the stalks, there's not much oxalic acid, but in the leaves, there's a lot. So if you eat the leaves of the rhubarb plant, it can poison you.
Yeah, I had to explain that one to my wife. She loves to use everything from every plant. I'm like, no. For the love of God, don't do it.
And then the last one that's kind of interesting is there's a chemical in red kidney beans called phytohemagglutinin, and it's present in red kidney beans. And if you undercook them, so if you cook them, say, between 160 and 190 degrees, it will actually concentrate the phytohemagglutinin, which causes what's called red kidney bean poisoning. You should never cook red kidney beans in a crock pot because that's the perfect environment to concentrate this poison and actually make your kidney beans poisonous. So you never want to serve undercooked kidney beans because they actually contain a poison. If they're fully cooked, they're safe. But if you keep them in that temperature range where slow cookers work, you can actually create a situation where they're dangerous. Weird, huh?
Yeah, and it's just, again, it's knowing your food. So
yeah. Okay, so that's it to round out chapter 2. Thanks for your help, Matt.
Yeah, we didn't even have to talk about worms this time. I'm so proud of you. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I love talking about the worms, but I'll see if I can work that into the next one, maybe.
All right, sounds good. I'll see you then.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.